Our first storyteller. He's retired after 6 terms and 24 years on Richmond Common Council. He's also retired from Indiana Farmers Insurance, and he spent all of January in Florida since retiring. So it's okay to hate him, but you should clap for him anyway. Please welcome Bruce Wissel.
If any of you have ever held public office before, you probably understand that there are certain stories you wait to tell after you have announced you're not going to run anymore. And this is one of those stories for me. It's about the first time I went on a honeymoon without my wife. And the central character of this story is a guy named Louis. Louis and I met the first day of the first grade. We're in our mid-60s now, and we still keep in touch, even though we've lived hours apart since that time. And quite frankly, the reason that we've been able to keep this friendship for so long is he's never lost his ability to shock me. You know, even as a kid, if anything outrageous was going to be done, it was going to be done by Louis. At 14, he bought a car and he drove it all over town. It was a 56 Buick Special with a rusted roof that he decided to wallpaper to make it look more aesthetic. The knob on the column gear shift fell off, and he replaced it with a bowling pin, a regulation-sized bowling pin. But the favorite story of those that went to that little parochial school involved his little brother. Now, his little brother was a late-term miscarriage. But his mother, who was a nurse, thought it would be a good idea to use this large embryo for the classes that she taught. So she kept it in a bottle of formaldehyde. Well, it was show and tell at school. And Louis brings this formaldehyde with this embryo on it as his show and tell project. And not only did Sister Damien refuse to give his participation star on his card, but he was sent home, even though all of us thought it was a lot better than the statue of the Eiffel Tower that Dottie Fox brought. And she got 2 stars. Well, our story starts back in December 2007. I was in St. Louis, where Louis lived at the time, and we were visiting. And he said, Bruce, I'm getting married in May, and I would like for you to come to the wedding. And I said, Louis, I try to go to all your weddings. And he said, well, this one's in Kiev. And at this point, I should probably tell you that Louis' third wife was a Ukrainian. And when they got married, he was 46. She was 26. She was absolutely knocked down gorgeous. And on Louis' best day, he's average. Well, this blissed affair lasted for 6 months, and then she joined the U.S. Army and divorced him. So when he told me he's marrying another woman from the Ukraine, I gave him this look like, haven't we been there before? And he said, look, I know what you're thinking. And yes, the last time I was taken advantage of. And yes, it cost me a whole lot of money. But it was the best 6 months of my life. And I thought, well, as long as you understand that's okay. So I went back to Richmond, talked to my wife, Nancy. I said, Louis getting married in Kiev in May. Do you want to go? And she said, I would absolutely love to go to the Ukraine. There's no way I'm going to go with Louis. You go, have a great time. So I go home, or I pick up the phone, I call Louis, and I said, look, Nancy can't make it, but I'll be able to go. And he said, great, you can be the best man. I usually get one of my brothers, but they all said Kiev was too far, and they'll wait for the next wedding. So, and I should mention, too, that this has been a family illness. Louis's son, little Louis, also married a gal from Germany who did the same thing, joined the U.S. Army, divorced him, which meant that Louis was deprived of knowing his grandson, littlest Louis, who Louis hasn't seen since he was like 6 years old. But back to our story. Our plan was Louis going to the Ukraine for a month, and I'm going over for the last 10 days. It's supposed to be a traditional Ukrainian wedding, which I know nothing about. I don't know if I'm supposed to dress up like a chicken or what. But I'm home waiting. Louis over there a few days. He sends back an email, and it said, I'm not marrying this woman. But you've already bought your tickets. We've already made plans. Come on over, and we'll go on the honeymoon together. So, of course, my curiosity comes up right away. I pick up the phone, make the expensive phone call to Kiev. He answers the phone, and I said, Louis, what happened? He said, I can't tell you, I'm on a date. I thought, I'm so happy you were able to get over this heartbreak. So I fly over, Louis picks me up at the airport, and I said, okay, I got to know what happened. And he said, well, she's still married. And I said, she didn't see that as a problem? And he said, no, we were going to live in the States. What are the odds of running into us? So he had rented this place in Kiev. It was a huge old building that had mixed residential use and also some commercial uses. And Louis met a friend there who came up and made the climb up the 4 sets of stairs and was all out of breath. And he's sitting there and he said, Louis, I wasn't sure where the address was, so he said, I Googled it, and since I didn't have an apartment number, all these things came out. And he said, I just have to know. He said, are you aware that the apartment next door is a brothel? And Louis said, no, but it sure explains a lot. Well, we stayed in Kiev for quite a while, which fascinating city, beautiful city. It was 3 million at the beginning of World War II. When the Nazis got done, it was only 1 million, and they've really rebuilt, and they have a lot of historic structures. The one I enjoyed the most was the Eternal Flame. But because of the price of natural gas, they only lit the Eternal Flame for special occasions. So I did get to see where it was housed. Well, the honeymoon involved taking a 17-hour train ride, and we went to Yalta. It's very romantic, you know. Really a great spot. And we were in an area called Ormond Beach. And it had a boardwalk. It had all these trendy little shops. The Black Sea was right there. And I just loved it. And we ended up meeting an expat, an American that couldn't afford to live in the U.S. anymore. It was his story. And so he came over to Yalta because it was so much cheaper to live here. And we recognized him right away because he was wearing cowboy boots. So we knew he wasn't a Ukrainian. And we met at the McDonald's. One of the things I can't give up in the morning is real coffee. And that's hard to find in the Ukraine, but there's a McDonald's right there on the beach. And I met him when I was trying to order, and I realized I can't speak Ukrainian. How do you say Egg McMuffin? And I actually said it out loud, and this guy behind me in the cowboy boots said, "Oh, they don't serve breakfast here." So every morning we were there, I had a quarter pounder and a large coffee. And you can live off that for a while, I found. But my very last night there, we're sitting on a restaurant, which is actually a barge on the Black Sea. It was a perfect night. You know, it was warm, the cool breeze coming in off the sea. The boardwalk was just full with people, you know, different nationalities, different backgrounds. Everything was just great. And we were drinking 50-cent Stellas. These huge Stellas. They don't have tax on alcohol in the Ukraine. And it just seemed like the perfect night. And Louis said, "Well, you know, Bruce, I really appreciate you coming over here, traveling halfway across the world. Sorry I let you down, because I know this probably isn't the arrangement that you agree with." And I said, "Well, you know, I am a little bit more traditional than you. I met my wife at a young Republican convention." And I know you're Democrat, and I'm not sure how you people do it, but that's what we do. And, you know, my recommendation would be to you that you not do this again. But I also would add the caveat that when you do, I'd like to be your best man again.